So are you a drop shipper, or are you somebody that wants to start drop shipping, whether it be Shopify drop shipping, and you're just worried about COVID-19 known as coronavirus, and you just don't know if you should start your drop shipping business now or you should carry on with it? You don't know if you should put your Facebook ads on pause. You're just confused about the whole crazy situation. Then you don't need to worry, because my name's Kamil Sattar, known as the ECOM King, and in today's video, I'm actually going to be interviewing a dropshipping fulfillment agent expert, and I'm going to be asking him all the top asked questions about COVID-19 and coronavirus, so I can clear up and debunk some of the myths around coronavirus and put you to ease in terms of starting your dropshipping business. And at the end of the day, all the questions that you might have in your head will be answered when I ask all of these questions to our dropshipping expert who is based in China. So that is something that's amazing, and I've spent a lot of time trying to get this in the mix so I can bring you guys the top quality content. Also, at the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing some really cool cheat sheets and tips and tricks on how to get around coronavirus if worse comes worse. And I'm going to be showing you how you can carry on dropshipping like me, who's generated $700 today. You can see this. And if I show you yesterday, so you can see yesterday it did $1,811. So you can see we're absolutely crushing it, and coronavirus is still happening, yet we're still able to kill it with Facebook ads and dropshipping. So guys, make sure you watch this video till the end. All the questions that I'm going to ask Phill, our dropshipping expert based in China, are going to be on the screen. So let's get straight into the interview. So as promised, like I said, we had a special guest for today's video, and the gentleman is called Phill. So Phill, explain who you are and why you're an expert in the dropshipping agent and fulfillment area.
Yes, thank you, Kamil, for this opportunity. As Kamil said, my name's Phill. I have a fulfillment, branding and sourcing company based in China. And we've been running for about 2 years, although we've got more than 7 years of combined experience with not only sourcing, branding, fulfillment, but with e-commerce and dropshipping in general. So at the moment we have a team of around 20 staff, and that ranges from packers, warehouse packers, procurement, sourcing, photographers, videographers, etc. So our business model is primarily catered to dropshippers and e-commerce store owners.
All right, beautiful. So as you know, you're an expert, and you've been doing this now as combined almost for a decade. Now, What part of China are you guys based in?
So we're Zhengzhou for ever since the inception of the company. However, we're expanding to Shenzhen this year.
Beautiful, beautiful. So as you know, Phill, I've got some questions for you that the subscribers have asked for, and some people in the Facebook group. So the first question that I've got for you, which are these coronavirus questions, is: should dropshippers be scared about items not being delivered due to the important problems with countries?
Okay, so initially, and as I'm sure most of your viewers will be aware, this started happening a couple of months ago, and even back then, so shortly after Chinese New Year, when this all kicked off, no fulfillment company or agents could send parcels regardless. In saying that, we have been operating since the 1st of February. We know for a fact that there aren't any issues with the logistics side. So we were sending parcels from the 1st of February all the way up until now. Yes, there were restrictions to some services, and the main issue was not getting parcels out of China. The main issue was sourcing your products, because the majority of companies and manufacturers and suppliers in China shut down. They had no way of getting to work, and that restriction was initially for about a week, and then it kept getting extended up until 23rd of February, and then that was extended up until about the 1st of March. So at this point in time, there isn't an issue. We're sourcing and sending pretty much normally. All suppliers seem to be back at work. Of course, there is going to be some downtime. It really depends on the product you're selling.
So in terms of what we're trying to say is, when like orders get sent to, let's say, from China to the United States, when it goes through border control and import control, will there be any flags? Will they say?
No. So we've used a combination of different services ever since this coronavirus, and the only issues you potentially may come across would be e-packet, but there's not a huge delay. It's probably maximum 5 days on above average, but we are starting to see issues now with external countries. So China at the moment has no issues whatsoever. It's countries that are putting restrictions on parcels coming in, not because they're trying to prevent the virus from spreading, because as you all know, it's impossible for the virus to spread via surfaces and parcels. Especially
and why is that the case then? For those that don't understand that, why is that the case that it's impossible for it to spread via
so the World Health Organization analysis and testing the virus, they now understand that the virus does not live outside an organism for an extended period of time. So as soon as it is outside of the body, it would die within, generally speaking, a few hours. So even if you're sending like a DHL parcel expedited service, which would arrive in the US within 5 days, the virus is going to be dead by the time it arrives with the customer.
All right, cool. So that's that question cleared. The next question I've got for you is, how long will this affect dropshipping for in terms of delays and future problems that may occur? As we know, it's getting worse. There's mutations of the virus now, and it's spreading quite quick. What's your thoughts as an expert on how it's going to impact in the next few months?
I wish I could answer that question with a simple answer, but I can't. Recently, as mentioned, there have been a lot of cases abroad. So as you know yourself, UK, Italy is one of the worst affected, South Korea as well. And I mean, today we received information from China Post, and e-packet parcels are now stopped. So they're still going to be processing them, but they're not going to be putting them on the actual planes themselves to a handful of destinations. US, UK, France, Spain, Italy, Poland, and a few others are affected by this. So if your only option is e-pack for any reason, you seriously need to consider notifying your customers, or at least, stop running ads. Otherwise, use a different service, special line or something.
Yeah, 100%. So I just want to touch on that as well, just because I know a lot of people will be like, oh, what about ones if e-packet's not working? How am I meant to ship out? So these are a few alternatives. And at the end of the video, I also share these with you. You can use AliExpress standard shipping. You can use Singapore Post as another alternative. If worse comes worse, you can order in bulk, get it sent to a fulfillment center. Or you can just do a simple change, and it's to change your buy now or add to cart button to say pre-order. That way customers are expecting a small delay. And all of that will be covered at the end of the video in terms of the tips and the tricks. So don't be panicking when Phill says e-packet might have a problem. The solution will be at the end of the video, and as I just explained just then. So that moves me on to my next question, which is, how much will this damage customers when buying online? So when their intentions are, look, I want to buy this product online, but then they think, oh, what if it's coming from China? What if it's being held by so many different people? Because as we know, when parcels are sent out, it's not just touched by one person's hands, it's touched by at least 10 people's hands. So will this affect customers' intentions to buy online?
I think, generally speaking, most customers are educated, and it all comes down to the media. So, you can't really generalize and say yes or no. The only thing you can do is just educate your customers as much as possible throughout your e-commerce funnel.
Yeah, 100% agree with you there, Phill. Sorry to butt in, but
that's right.
It's more about educating them on the product page and explaining that they shouldn't be worried about the coronavirus, whether it be by putting a small notice at the top of the product page, whether it be putting on the order confirmation or on the ad copy, or even at the end of the ad video on Facebook ads, that there's no need to worry. As you said, it's just educating the consumer.
So generally speaking, I would say no, because the spotlight now is away from China, or at least it is moving away from China, and it's now focused on customers' own countries. They're more worried about if they're gonna go shopping, go out their house and get it contracted that way. So
but what about what about the people? So when the product gets into the country, let's say the product goes to England and then from England, it obviously has to go to the consumer's house. What if the customer's worried about the person that touches the parcel in the UK and then brings it to the house?
I mean, of course, there is that possibility, and there will always be those who are really, I won't say paranoid, but very worried that could happen. But I mean, it really does depend on who the customer is and what they're like. Personally, I don't think, of course, there'll be a small percentage, but I don't think this is really going to damage conversion rates that much. And
there might be a small percent, if that.
Yeah. So generally speaking, I say not much to worry about.
Okay. So the next question I've got for you is, should people wait to start drop shipping, or people that are drop shipping, should they pause their ads? Should they scale down? Like, what are your thoughts on this question?
I wouldn't say stop, but make sure you have plan B and plan C, because
I agree with you there.
as you know, and I'm sure you obviously educate your fans as well. One, you know, there are lots of things that need to be considered. It's not just running ads and selling a product. You need to make sure the supply chain is solid. Make sure that it's not a product that's in high demand, because in sensitive situations such as we're having now with the coronavirus, it just puts even more strain on the supply chain. So the first thing is to make sure, one, you have enough inventory. If you don't have inventory and you're just purely drop shipping, then make sure you have at least a few different agents or suppliers lined up, just in case one falls through. You know, for any reason they can't get the inventory. Make sure you secure your supply chain. The next will be to make sure that there aren't any issues. Now, this is easier said than done, but you know, just be communicative with your fulfillment company or your agent, and just on an up-to-date, you know, daily basis, find out what the situations are, because we get updates every day from our shipping carriers. Countries to the restrictive list, they could say, you know, one country's been completely cancelled. It could, half of the planes may be off the flight path. So the next step would be to just ensure that your fulfillment and company and your agent is operating normally, and there's no major restrictions with flights and courier services.
Really,
but again, that's on a daily basis. That you may ask today, and then tomorrow they're hit with another restriction.
Yeah, I really like what you said there. Now, something that I want to say is, so let's say I go onto AliExpress today and I see a product that I want to drop ship. Should I message the supplier before importing it to my website? What are your thoughts on that? Okay, yeah. So AliExpress suppliers now are a lot better when you ask them for you can get their numbers and WhatsApp numbers off the product pages now. They get back to you quite fairly quite good. Something that I'd actually add on is, me personally, if I'm looking at a product that I want to sell now whilst COVID-19's around, I do message the supplier through WhatsApp or AliExpress chat and just say, look, are you actually processing orders at the moment, or are you just printing shipping labels off what's going on at the moment?
Yeah. Just to add to that though, you can't, even if you contacted the vendor and they replied promptly and said, no problems, no issues, everything's fine, and then you go and place an order with them a few days later or even the next day, you know, don't be surprised if they say, sorry, they're out of stock, or sorry, they're not operating. I mean, even with our business, so many times, you know, we quote and make sure that inventory is in stock with a supplier. By the time the customer actually transfers payment and we go to place the order, sometimes we get unreliable suppliers, or sometimes they genuinely are, there's an issue, run out of stock or whatever. So that's why I say it's really important to have plan B and plan C.
100%. It's funny you said that, because there's been times where me and students have reached out to suppliers and they give you the heads up saying, yeah, everything's fine, because they want to take the money, they want to take the business. It means a lot to them. But then really it's not as good as what they're saying. It's just they want to have more business. So definitely do take it with a pinch of salt, because they might just be saying that to get you in so they can make money from you, basically. For sure. As that's what they care. Because I had a woman the other day, and we ordered some stuff and it wasn't being sent out, but other suppliers were sending stuff out, and we're like, "Are you sure you've got it? Are you sure you've got it?" And then after like bashing them down a little bit, they eventually said, "Look, we're out of stock at the moment." Yeah,
it's really bad. It's and you do get suppliers that just pull you along with a piece of string, and it's really frustrating. And it helps when you're dealing with with agents or fulfillment companies that cut that stuff out, or at least they can communicate more clearly with and understand the culture, of course. So just make sure you plans in place.
Next thing I got for you is how, based on all the AliExpress supplies and whatnot, what percent, and it doesn't have to be an accurate one, but from your knowledge, how many suppliers would you say out of 100% are back in business?
So at this point in time, 90% are back to normal.
So if 90% of suppliers in China are back to normal, 9 times out of 10, that's going to correlate with AliExpress. So things are going back.
Shouldn't be any issues.
Yeah, things shouldn't really be an issue. The next thing I've got for you, now this is quite a funny question, but I got it a lot, is should you, or are skincare and cosmetic products like lipsticks, makeup, are they okay to sell because people feel like it's going to have coronavirus on it, and if people put it on their skin?
It is quite funny because it's the first time I've heard it. No need to worry. As mentioned before, the virus can't live outside a living organism.
Yeah, that kind of answers that question, doesn't it? So
yeah.
Now the next one, which is something that I'm sure you're going to be very good at answering, is if people want to move to an agent or a fulfillment center, how can they find number one, an agent? Because that's the first way of going outside of AliExpress. And then how can they go to finding a fulfillment center? But not just that, how can they find a reliable, consistent agent and fulfillment center?
Okay, so generally speaking, you wouldn't really want to do that still new to dropshipping.
So what would you say, like the minimum order? So what would you say you should be putting through every week through your store? How many orders should you be doing?
Okay, so it depends per company, but generally speaking, most would say 20 a day.
20 orders a day, yeah.
Yeah, so something like that. But other companies, they offer a lower quota, but it's based on whoever you work with.
Okay, so let's say I'm getting 20 orders a day, then what should I do?
Okay, so first of all, you need to do your research. It's like anything. If you're considering going and using a service, regardless of what it is, you're not just going to walk through the door and use the first one you see. Well, at least I hope not. Do your due diligence to research. That's one way of doing it. Another way is just test out the service. So there are quite a few fulfillment agents and companies out there who do accept single orders. So, and if you're at that point, you have nothing to lose. Just, go and test out the platforms. It's most app based. So all you have to do is register, create an account, log in, send an order or two, and do exactly the same with the others. You might find one is slower than the other, one is more expensive, the support isn't very great. So it all comes down to testing, to be honest. Now,
another thing that I wanted to ask you is, I made a video and it's about the top 10 questions to ask agents, so you know that they're a reliable agent, they're not a scam. So what would you say, maybe not questions, but what should you look for when working with an agent?
So initially it's communication. That's the very first thing. So once you've got in touch with them, you want to make sure that they're active and responsive. So the last thing you want to do is be waiting hours or days even for a response. There's nothing worse than that frustration of your orders haven't been dispatched, or there's an issue with your order and you need an answer. So make sure they have live chat or something like that. And if they do, just make sure you're happy with the responsiveness and helpfulness of their support. Moving on from communication is also their efficiency. Don't be afraid to ask for a list of tracking numbers for whatever service it is that you're going to be using. So if you're interested in a particular product or you're selling a particular product, actually ask them and ask what their advice is. Which shipping service would you recommend that I send for this product? What's the price? Blah, blah, blah. And once you've narrowed it down to, or they've given you advice on which service, then ask for tracking numbers for the last month. Now, the thing is here is that you don't want them to cherry pick, but there's no way of you knowing if they are or not. This is something that a lot of agents do, and they use it as kind of bait. they just cherry pick all the quickest and fastest tracking numbers and post it in groups, or post it and say, you know, we got really fast shipping. So just ask them for random a list of tracking numbers over the last week or month, and that way you get an idea of. Another thing you can ask is what their, you know, returns policy is, and, you know, if parcels are lost or damaged, etc. What is, if they're going to cover any of that. I'll say they're the three main things to look out for, and what to question.
Exactly. So that brings me on to my next question, and thank you for clarifying things about that. I'm sure that's going to find a lot of people a lot of hope in finding fulfillment centers. And the next thing is, should people be selling flu masks, coronavirus products like hand sanitizer? So what are your thoughts on selling those kind of products?
Again, we have so many requests for these. Honestly, highly recommend and suggest you don't sell anything like that. The supply chain is very stressed at the moment. There's way too much demand, and the Chinese government is restricting the well, not restricting, but they have massive control over this. So those manufacturers and factories that are producing, the Chinese government needs to know how much they're producing, where they're going to, and even the shipping from the manufacturer to wherever it's going needs to be monitored. So it's just too sensitive. You're going to run into problems with the supply chain, and the worst thing is when you've got orders and you can't find the products that fulfill. We had an inquiry yesterday for thermostats, the digital ones, and the guy already sold something like 1,000 units, and he came to us. He was like, come on, man, I need some help. I sold them for like $35 a pop. I need these fulfilled. I said, I've got procurement team to have a look into it, and I knew what the outcome would be, but the best we got back was $52 per unit, and before all this happened, they probably cost like $3-4. So if you can get hold of them, they're going to be ridiculously priced, or there's going to be some issue somewhere or another. So just avoid it. Just don't
avoid those kind of coronavirus products. Hey, no going near it. So let's say people are getting 20 orders a day, and they want to find you and work with you as a fulfillment company. What should they do? Should they just should they go into the description below, click the link, and just go from there?
Yeah. So the link in the video below would be a Facebook Messenger link URL. And it will go directly to our bot, which will ask you a series of questions. That once you've completed that sequence, that will automatically be sent to our procurement team, where they'll get a price for you and get back to you generally speaking, within 24 hours. If you have high volume, the bot will also automatically give you a scheduling link, so you can book a call with me or someone else, and we can discuss in further detail. So ensure you complete the sequence, otherwise, you know, nobody will view the message. It's just to help us and be able to accurately quote you and be able to check the availability of the product as well. So and you're more than welcome to obviously, you know, check our Facebook page and our website, etc., which will also be included.
All right, thank you very much for your time and your advice, and also giving out how to get into work with you. So guys, if you're somebody that isn't getting 20 orders a day, then make sure you watch the rest of the video, because I'm going to be showing you the best alternatives to ePacket. So once again, thank you, Phill, for taking the time out today on a Wednesday afternoon to share some knowledge and clear people's heads and thoughts as people are panicking because the news obviously blows things up too much. So yeah, thank you so much, Phill. So we're now on to the part of the video where I'm going to be sharing some tips and tricks that you can use if worse comes worse and your supplier is not available till the 1st of April, the 1st of May, even worse, June, July. So these are the tips and tricks that you can use to carry on just like normal, even if your suppliers are going to be away for a few months. Now, the first trick that I'm going to give you, and the first little cheat I'm going to give you, is changing your add to cart button to say pre-order. So instead of saying add to cart on your website, you're going to say pre-order, so people know exactly what's going to happen when they order order from you. Instead of them expecting a product straight away, they're going to expect a delay due to a pre-order. Everybody knows that pre-order means that you've not currently started sending the products out, but you will eventually start sending them out once you've got them all in stock. So that's exactly the first step of this process. Now, this Google Doc sheet that you can see on the screen is going to be available in the description. Now, I'm going to show you right now how to change your add to cart button to say pre-order. So this is the first step you need to take. So the first step is you need to go to your Shopify dashboard. You need to go to where it says online store, and then you need to go to here where it says your theme, and then click actions, and then go to edit languages. And then as soon as this screen appears, you want to go to where it says products, and you want to scroll all the way down, and yours should say here where it says add to cart, yours should say add to cart. Mine says pre-order because I've changed it. So what you want to do is just put pre-order in this box, and then go back to the top and click save. So you guys can see as soon as you've made that little change, when you go to a product page on your website, you can see now the button says pre-order instead of add to cart. So that's just me showing you that it actually works. So you can see as soon as you've changed that little section, your add to cart now button will say that pre-order. So guys, that's the first little cheat sheet and little trick you can do to start with. Now, if you want to go over this in more detail, I've left the step-by-step in this doc sheet, so make sure you go and check that out. So now we're on to stage number 2. So although you've changed the add to cart button to say pre-order, you now need to change your order confirmation, because when people buy from your store, they automatically receive an order confirmation saying that their order will be with them soon, and basically that you've told them exactly what they bought. Now, you don't want to keep the generic order confirmation because that would confuse people. So what I've done for you is, and what I've done to save you a lot of time, is I've changed the order confirmation email so you can just copy and paste this in. So what you want to do is you want to come to this section of the Google Doc sheet, and then what you want to do is you want to go back to your online store, and then you want to go all the way down to where it says settings in the bottom left, and then you want to go to notifications, and then you want to go to where it says order confirmation, and you just want to click that right there. As soon as you've clicked it, it's going to say email subject, and again in the Google Doc sheet I've given you the cheat sheet on what to put. So instead of putting order, you're going to type in here pre-order, and then you're just going to keep that as that is. So as soon as people have received that order confirmation through their email, instead of it saying order confirmation, it's going to say pre-order confirmation. That way they know exactly that they're getting a pre-order and not an order. So the next thing is you're going to want to change the email body HTML, because on here it says things like your order's being ready to ship, will notify you once it's been shipped and stuff like that. So this is going to confuse them as well. So what I've done is in the Google Doc sheet right here, I've changed the HTML to say instead of your order's going to be with you, thank you for your pre-order, and I've put here we're getting our pre-orders ready to be shipped to our customers. We'll notify you when the pre-orders are being shipped. So if we cross-reference that to the original, you can see straight away it's totally different to what's in here right away. So make sure you change that as well. As soon as you've made those changes, click save, and as soon as customers make a purchase, they will get that new order confirmation instead of the original one, which will help them. It will just make all sense at the end of the day. They'll know straight away that they're getting a pre-order and not an order. So guys, that is the first little cheat of today's little video. Guys, that is the first kind of trick you can use, which is just changing it so people understand that they're not going to get an order, they're going to get a pre-order, which means they have to wait till you notify them when things come back into stock. So at least then you're not going to get any problems with customers saying, look, where's my product? How come it's taken forever? They have the expectation to understand that, look, you will notify them once they once you've got the stock back in and you're starting to send things out. So that's going to definitely help you carry on with your business like nothing has happened. So guys, the last little advice that I'm going to leave you with today regarding the coronavirus is what shipping to use on AliExpress. You can see I'm on an AliExpress product page right now, and I'm going to go here to where it says the different shippings. Now, I do definitely recommend you always make the ship to United States. It is the industry standard to make sure that you leave it as that. Now, you can see loads of different options are coming up now. This is a question that I get a lot, and I'm going to answer it right now. So there's 3 options that I always choose. Now, the first one is EMS ePacket. If the supplier offers EMS ePacket, always go for it. That's the first one that I always recommend going for. The second fulfillment and shipping is AliExpress standard shipping, which is this one right here, and you can see it's $2.28. So it's always expensive. It tends to be more expensive than ePacket, but like I said, if ePacket's not an option, then I do recommend going for AliExpress standard shipping. Then the third and final recommendation is Singapore Post. Now, I want to make a disclaimer. Only go for the shipping that offers tracking. So you can see EMS and AliExpress standard shipping offer tracking. Now the three at the bottom here, the 28, 28 and 34, don't recommend going for these because these are way too expensive and it's just not a viable option. Now you're probably thinking, Cam, you told me to go for Singapore Post but it doesn't offer tracking. I want to make something very, very clear. Not all suppliers don't offer tracking with Singapore Post. There are a lot of suppliers that will offer Singapore Post and it does come with tracking. So just make sure that you find that out when you go on your product page, when you go to the AliExpress product page and you go to their shipping. Always double check to see if the Singapore Post does come with tracking. Majority, 9 times out of 10, they should come with tracking. But like I said, my go-to is number 1, ePacket. If ePacket's not available, AliExpress standard shipping. If AliExpress standard shipping is not an option, Singapore Post as long as it comes with tracking. If Singapore Post isn't an option and the other 2 ain't an option, then move on to the next product or change the product page to pre-order. That is my last recommendation.